thought he got away with it. For 45 years, he lived a quiet life as a father, husband, and community scout leader. But the past never forgets, and when the knock came at his door, justice was finally ready to answer. My name is Detective Griever. I've been chasing shadows for over 20 years, but nothing ever haunted me like the case of John Arthur Getreu. I've seen a lot in my years on the force: cold cases, missing people, broken families, but nothing like the case of John Arthur Getreu, the man who smiled for decades while hiding unspeakable things. It started like any other day at the station, a routine review of old DNA files. But when the lab pinged on a partial familial match linked to a 1973 murder, something clicked. We had new tools, and the past was finally speaking. The match led us to a man living quietly in Hayward, California. He was 74 years old, a grandfather, a former scout leader. He looked like any other aging American. But his name appeared in the database connected to a crime scene involving a young woman found strangled near Stanford University decades ago. We dug deeper. The more we looked, the darker it got. In 1973, Leslie Perloff, a 21-year-old law clerk, was found dead in the hills outside Stanford, a floral scarf tied tightly around her neck. There were no leads, no suspects, only silence. But the DNA under her fingernails never went away. It waited. Then came the 1974 case. Janet Taylor. Same age, same area, same cause of death. It was too similar to ignore. We used genealogical databases to reconstruct a family tree. All signs pointed to one man, John Getreu. When I saw his name, I felt something. That pulse detectives get when they know they're on the edge of something big. But we couldn't go in fast. We had to be smart. So we sent in an undercover officer with a lie. He told John he hit his car. It got him out of the house, got him talking. We brought him in quietly. At first, he was polite, cooperative. He smiled. He talked about his time growing up in Germany, his father's military service. But when we asked about 1963, his tone shifted. He confessed to something in Germany. A young girl, Margaret Williams, 15 years old. He said he didn't remember much, just that he was accused of killing her. Served time, then came back to the States like nothing happened. Then came the questions about Stanford. Do you remember Leslie Perloff? He said no. Janet Taylor? No. But he made mistakes. He referenced details we hadn't mentioned. He described places we never told him about. He slipped again and again. We kept pressing. Your DNA was found on Leslie, John. Not near her, not in the area, on her body. He leaned back, eyes twitching. I have no idea how that happened, he said. Lies. And Janet? I don't even know who she is. More lies. When we showed him a picture of Leslie, he hesitated. He said she looked familiar, then changed his mind. He was breaking. Finally, I asked him, if you were me and you had your DNA on 2 murdered women, what would you think? He went quiet. Then he said, I guess you found me. That was the moment. Not quite a confession, but it was enough. We arrested him for the murder of Janet Taylor, then Leslie. He pleaded not guilty, of course, but the DNA didn't lie. That was just the beginning. When John Getreu was officially charged, media outlets exploded. People couldn't believe a man who lived among them, who went to church, coached scouts, raised a family, was capable of such horror. But monsters wear many masks. During the investigation, we unearthed his past in Germany. In 1963, when he was only 18, he'd been arrested for the rape and murder of a 15-year-old girl named Margaret Williams. Her body was found behind a youth club in a German town. He was convicted but released after a few years due to his age. We reviewed his employment records, volunteer history, and places he lived. Every new detail painted the same picture: a predator who had perfected the art of hiding in plain sight. As the case gained national attention, survivors from his past began to come forward. Women who once filed complaints. Teens who remembered strange behavior. We couldn't open every file, but we saw the pattern: manipulation, control, silence. The trial was grueling. Janet Taylor's family sat in court every day, holding pictures, wiping tears. The defense tried to dismiss the DNA as contamination, but experts tore those arguments apart. The prosecution laid out everything: the timeline, the evidence, the lies. When the jury delivered the guilty verdict, the courtroom was silent. Then, a whisper of relief. Justice, at last. In 2023, Getreu confessed to the murder of Leslie Perloff as part of a plea deal. It was a quiet, tired confession from a man who had run out of places to hide. But there was one last twist. A pair of torn undergarments, evidence from the Janet Taylor case, contained genetic material matching Getreu's profile. That final link erased any lingering doubts. It shut the door on speculation. He was the killer. Of Janet, of Leslie, and maybe of others we may never discover. He died in prison later that year. No fanfare, no final words, just a quiet end to a loud legacy of suffering. Today, his DNA is still being used in cold case databases. Every now and then, a new file pops up. A lead, a new victim, a new family waiting for answers. The case reminded me, and everyone in the department, that time doesn't erase truth. It waits, buried beneath silence, tucked inside broken families and dusty folders. But justice never forgets. I still carry the photo of Leslie and Janet, not just as victims, but as reminders. Reminders that the past always speaks, if we're willing to listen. Detective Griever, I speak for the ones who can't.